In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Hey guys, I decided to also give a normal episode tonight. It doesn't happen often where I give two different talks like back to back. Usually it happens if the first talk wasn't recorded. But I don't know guys, I've had an intense day. I've had a deeper discovery of, the nature of humans. I've realized how like difficult it is for humans to really understand each other when they don't have the patience to actually see who they are, right? So this world is very strange. Like even if somebody like it's like like you see when we wonder about the human being, we we can't ignore like what it's motivated by. And right now in the world, I find that it's motivated by how it's being a character in the world story. Okay. And how, like, what's the most, like, updated way that human beings can live. So the evolution of like mass psychology has gone towards like technological innovation, right? Like, that's a very huge part. And so we're living in like multiple simulations as human beings. Okay. And I can legit like name them. Like we're living in a biological simulation. Okay. Then we're living in an elemental simulation, technically, you know, in an existential simulation. Or let me say it differently. Like we're simulated, the world is simulated. Or let me say it differently. There's a biological simulation happening right now. If you ask me who I am, my answer to you would be internal, like behind my eyes, like an inner psychological, um, subjective position, or I should use the word simulation, right? So right now, I'm biologically simulated, though I'm in somewhere, so that somewhere is also existentially simulated. The idea of me is simulated, okay? Now, what else is simulated? The state of consciousness, how we log into reality and then log out, that's also simulated. Okay. And then to me, like, when I was younger, my parents were like, don't play games. And there was something that little did I know that when you come to process and actually wonder about what's going on in this world, what's actually happening, and you wonder about what the meaning of reality is, and when you really zoom in on it, you're seeing a conditional entity engaging the conditions of where it is. Okay. So, and when I say like you dehumanize when you forget your heart, okay, like somebody could be like, oh, like, but you don't understand the depth of that sentence. Okay. It means that in this lifetime, you as a being that is simulated in this life, okay. So, I read it in the previous talk. I've been simulated on this planet, okay. Like I've existed on this planet 12,445 days. Okay. Yeah. That's how many days I've existed. Guys, AI, like, like I gotta like, sometimes take a break from this. AI says I've been on this planet, guys, 17.9 million minutes. I've legit, if somebody's like, hey man, do you have experience existing? I'll be like, yeah, man, like around 298,680 hours. They're like, are you qualified? I'm like, yeah, I've seen this. Okay. And to me, I'll be honest, I am not someone who like in my youth I was, but in my life I'm not antisocial, but I have come to understand that just because we've built paved, like we've put cement on it, built buildings, and we're all dressing up in clothing, it doesn't mean it it's not a jungle. Do you understand? And what is the state, guys, that you find in a jungle, right? Bunch of like random beings, like a bunch of like unnecessarily like unique or maybe necessarily beyond our comprehension, like designed beings. Like we're like, oh my god, a snake that big existed. All right, I'm gonna forget this, like this forest ever existed. Like, you know, guys, I'll be honest, like there's no need to be rude in the chat section, okay? The chat section is an environment for growth, and advancement. Yeah, guys. Honestly, guys, this is a very important talk, but it's very simple to explain. Pretty much like all the moments in your life so far, pretty much if you look at a human life, it's a sequence of decisions, right? It's like a series of decisions we make. Okay, now when we come to make those decisions, I think it's very important with what awareness the decision is being made. That's, I think, the key thing. All right. Excuse me. All right. To continue, pretty much I was naming the simulations, okay, and its conditions, and the same way. And the thing about the title about listening to your heart, I can't really explain it, but I think even like whoever you are, if you're like a soul, like you know what I mean. Like in life, there's decisions that we can make based on the idea of us or the inner realm event. The mind is sometimes like a test, like what you're going, like let's say to walking to the grocery store, and then your mind suddenly shows a version of you that's like super advanced. Do you know? Like that means has like the most advanced like technological like office or something. Do you know what I mean? Like the mind suddenly projects that, right? And I don't know how to explain it, but we all say we're existing. We all, like, I agree with that, but I'm saying that we're not all just experiencing reality because we have inner lives. We're living. Everybody's living an inner life. Like they don't teach it, in the same way they're like, yo, man, no, the idea of me, my name, my personality, my memory trail, like everything. Yeah, man, this character in the story, this is me, right? It's the position of identity that's understood, right? Like I understand that we're all characters in like a story, but at the same time, I'm saying if the value of all life is limited to just one aspect of your moment, then that's like ignorance. You know, when I say like you dehumanize if you don't listen to your heart, anything you don't care about, you don't identify with. That's the common pattern in human psychology, right? And how can I prove this? It's so obvious right now. Like look at everything you're caring about and realize everything you're not caring about you don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? Like our attention is based on what we care about. And I do understand that every being is like some sort of unknown life force or some sort of life vitality force, you know? So guys, you gotta like listen to you gotta so what I'm saying is what you care about kind of like becomes where your attention is, becomes your value system, I guess, right? So what you care about becomes your reality. And to me, yeah, the mind does appear as rooms. Pretty much what I'm saying is let think of it this way: the human being has different ways it can activate. One way it can activate is like, all right, I'm an idea, I'm a character in a story, I got a name, I'm gonna go and be a character in this like subjective game that all of our human minds are somehow acting like it's normal to be a character with a name. Do you know what I'm saying? like like they're like, Mr. Within, are you trying to break the system? Nah, man. I'm like, yo, forget the system. Like, forget all the evil people trying to control, like, the innocent people. Like, forget all that. Okay. Just for a second, look at the world, yo. Like, I'm telling you, the funniest thing is, like, I think this is what the most advanced, like, if imagine there's like some evil, like, group of power or something in like fiction, we find this, right? So imagine they go on like they go to the most advanced AI and they're like, most advanced AI, what should we do, right? And the most advanced AI is like, all right, like super like wealthy evil people, let me tell you what you should do. Do you know? Do you know? And for the every and the evil person is like evil, like wealthiest, most powerful, like a hidden shadow person or whatever, like like that idea that's it going around in culture, right? Right? So that person's like, all right, AI, tell me, what should I do? And AI is like, all right, man, this is going to be hard to process. This is like what AI is going to, this is what Chat GPT is going to tell, like the most advanced AI. Okay. Chat GPT, like the most, like, I don't know, whatever, the like next level version of it or whatever. Right. The evil billionaire is like, what should I do, man? Like, I control everything. Should I keep conquering and controlling and feeling like more power and like feeding myself power like the whole time? Do you know what I mean? And the AI is like, you're not gonna believe it, man. All right, and this might be a little like too much to grasp at first. All right. But you got to stop doing this pointless, evil, controlling stuff. Realize that people are like flowers, yo. You're not trying to like put a string around flowers and just like make their growth unnatural. You stop messing with people's lives. You put all that wealth and power towards building and advancing things. And if you're an evil, powerful person on Earth, well, at least the Medici family, that was like that first archetype. You're like your first archetypal ancestor. Like they at least made the civilization beautiful. Do you understand? Like you must first access, and that what I'm saying is good and evil should stop fighting. All conscious beings in the realm should build the most advanced position. Once we have the most advanced position in an advanced reality, be good and evil, or like play their games as archetypes in the realm. You know, like what do you guys think of what I'm saying? You know, when I consider advancement, like you don't understand, like when that word entered like my consciousness, I was like, wait a minute, I could put this word in front of anything. Do you know? I put this word in front of anything, suddenly an advanced car, an advanced tree, an advanced sky, an advanced world, an advanced being. Do you know? And then suddenly I came to myself and I'm like, wait a minute, there's even an advanced me. Yeah. Like, do you know, like there's like a level of advancement you reach in life where you're like, no way, I put the word advanced in front of the word advanced. Like, it's like, yo, man, you won't believe it. I access advanced advancement. Like, you're like, what's Mr. Within's ideology? He's pretty much like, what are we doing here? We should all aim for the most advanced and unite over that. You know what I mean? And people are like, nah, man. Like my ancestors behaved like that. Like I'm not gonna forget that. And I'm not gonna forget what I even want. Like forget like civilization and the world. I'm gonna use the world to survive here. And then and like I don't know what happens. Like that's how advanced our civilization is. Am I wrong? Guys, when I say something that's like, if you feel like it's really valid, say something in the chat section. You know what I mean? Like they're like, yo, man, like this civilized, like imagine if somebody saw me giving this podcast. Like imagine like I'll, let's say, a hypothetical sci-fi, like abstract reality. Okay. In an abstract sci-fi reality, imagine aliens are watching me. Like imagine there's this one alien extraterrestrial being, okay, or let's say this like whatever, this higher, let's say, extraterrestrial being, okay, that is watching. Like imagine there's a being from the Andromeda galaxy that's so advanced that it's like watching me give this podcast right now. And imagine another friend of that being comes and it's like, hey man, what are you watching? It's like, hey man, you're not gonna believe it, this species is so unadvanced. Do you know? The extraterrestrials are going to be like, this species is so unadvanced that like one of them's like realized like how unadvanced they are. And it's telling them, hey guys, how come behind our eyes we see an advanced potential? It's do you know what it is? We're like this advanced like possibility, right? But the way we're acting on Earth is so small, like unnecessarily. Do you know? That means like I thought by 2026 there'd be an honor system for humanity. Do you know what I mean? Like in the same way knights had honor, like samurai had honor, or even like scary ass like Native American like shouting like soldier warriors or something. Do you know what I mean? Like everybody had honor. Like they're like, yo man, I gotta defend this place. You can't just like go and destroy everything. Oh man. So guys, so imagine that Andromedans, like the friends, like, yo man, so what's happening? It's like, yo man, this species is just reaching that point where at least one of them's like, yo guys, we gotta stop being in denial. Everybody individually thinks everything's great. Like, do you know what I mean? They go to conferences, spas, everybody's trying to relax and be happy. What kind of silly, goofy, like, excuse my language, you know? They're like, yeah, man, these human beings, they just want to chill, right? They haven't cared about the responsibility of the future yet. That's what's missing in our lives. That's what I mean. They haven't, like, civilization, like in an advanced civilization, there would be a very advanced human honor system. Do you know what that means? That means in my inner realms, I see it. In the outer realms, we are so far from that I'm sometimes wondering, like, why am I even seeing it? Like, they're like, all right, man. It's like, if somebody's like, hey, man, what's the advantages and disadvantages of overthinking? You know? And the person's like, the disadvantage is, like, your attention sometimes is just focused on, like, one point. But from another angle, I don't know how to say it, but in the inner realms as a subject, there's access to, like, infinity. I don't know how to say it. Like, really, what's happening here is I'm just a biological entity making noise, but I'm making noises that like, others have assigned to, like, symbols, right? And then reality activates, right? So if I start speaking in a different language right now, which I can't even, right? People are going to be like, okay, it's like, it sounds interesting. Like, and they're like, why? Like, imagine they ask someone, it's like, hey, man, did you listen to Mr. Within song? It's like, it didn't make sense to me, man. And they're like, why? Why did it make sense to me? And they're like, yeah, because it was in a different language. So where I'm getting at with this, really, is, what's the difference? People can write it down in the chat section. Maybe some people are listening and they can see, like, something I'm trying to see even further. Like, you can share in the chat section. The whole theme of these lectures is, like, advance, advance, advance. If the viewers feel like they can share, like, an advanced view, do you know, like, in an organized manner, just, like, share that, like, that's possible. But anyways, guys, where I'm going with this is that right now on Earth, as a human being, as a member of the human species, and I was talking about the advanced, like, in an advanced civilization, what would the advanced honor system be? The advanced civilization, if it had a sort of royalty to it, okay, I mean, the, like, the traditional sense of the word, okay, if you wanted to see, like, an advanced human honor of, like, some advanced royal humanity, right, kingdom of humanity, okay, that advancement would be, the most advanced monarchy is when the crown is on the head of the future generations. That means, for example, right now on Earth, in Iran, okay, in Iran right now, for example, like, there's, like, some political issues, and it's kind of strange. Like, if Tolkien was here, he'd be like, yo, these devils are, like, messing with Gandalf. You know what I mean? It's just Iran's like Gandalf, fighting the Balrog. Do you know what I mean? And I'm just saying, like, the most advanced thing that, for example, right now, the king of Iran is asking for assistance from, the United States to, in some sense, reform Iran so that it returns back to its 2,500-year-old monarchy, which would be the greatest gift, like, technically from a certain perspective to that country, right? And would establish the greatest relationships after, if Trump really like understands like the value of good relationships. Like, but at the same time, I don't know anything about politics and don't take anything I say politically seriously, you know. This is just the information. This is like, I don't know, I haven't even thought of it that deeply, but I'm saying that the king of Iran, right, the son of the king of Iran, should in some sense be like, you're going to restore a monarchy in Iran, like return the monarchy, but this time the king is like, I don't wear the crown. The crown is on the head of the future generations. And everybody would be shocked and fascinated by that king, right? They're like, yo, this king came back into power, like his father's like legacy, this, son of the king, right, of Iran, right? And it's like when he comes to power, he's like, I don't want to be the symbol of Iran is like the future of the world, not just Iran. Do you know what I mean? Because Iran, strangely, in its history, right? And of course, back in the day, everybody was savage. Like, we shouldn't forget that everybody was. The world was a different place. But Iran was one of those, Persia was one of those civilizations that they kind of brought like the first effort towards like a universal declaration of rights. And this is a very ancient, like, civilization in, I guess, human history, right? And so what I'm trying to say is, Iran, if the king wants to come back and says the crown is on the head of the future generations, and the whole aim of all the future generations is Iran, like, imagine the king is like, the crown is on the head of the future generations, and they're like, all right, king, what now? And the king's like, we're all going to aim for a collective civilization. Imagine that king would make history. If the king of Iran, after saying the future generations will wear the crown, and in some sense, like, being like, we're not living for Iran anymore. We're living for all humans on earth. We're going to be the first nation that, sure, people can see us as Iranians, but we're living for the species, everyone, the human psychology, the human presence, how behind our eyes people are different than in front of their eyes, like, if that king does that chess move, and just, guys, because this is like something happening in the world news right now, I'm saying it, but I think it was an interesting view. Maybe some people might appreciate it, right? Anyways, to go further, as we must. And guys, I've never said this, but everybody can feel free to download these lectures and like save an archive. Like, if a bunch of people on the planet have all my lectures saved in the computer, that would be incredible. I don't know, maybe in the future there's going to be like that much like memory power, like, of transferring files. Can you imagine transferring terabytes? I don't think they're like, nah, man, Gmail's like that. Sorry. That picture you wanted to send is like too high definition. So let us look at how far, like somebody in the chat section said, actually, look how far we have come from savages. But the point of it is the future. That's exactly it. Focus on the future. So every human being has a different access to reality because they're different DNA, different position in reality. There is no way we can judge each other. We judge each other when there's a system that values certain ways of behavior over others, but at the same time, it values those certain ways of behavior because they're more efficient, right? So if you treat reality like a language, and this is very fascinating because you know how I was explaining like the simulations. If I use the word instead, and I'm telling you, yo, man, if you want me to explain this world to you, pretty much what you see is there is an biological behavioral language, there's a psychological, ideological, subjective language, and there's multiple languages. We can see mathematics can be considered as a language, music can be considered as a language. Everything is a language. Why? Because everything is in some sense has a relationship with one another. We cannot ignore how people are like, yo, man, why does everything feel interconnected? It's like, yeah, obviously, because we're one moment of awareness. That's we're like that. Instead of we're like one dot connecting all lines, one point just emanated a field of awareness. Sometimes honestly I feel like it, like, like if imagine somebody comes and says, look, yo, being a human being is like being a candle, and imagine everybody's like, that's so silly. Or imagine like a young child comes and says to its parents and in front of like a gathering or something, and comes and says, it's like parents, we're all candles, and everybody laughs and all of this except the philosophers in the room, you know And why are we like candles? Because we're just an energy and we're a certain manifestation of form. And then there is the layering of ideas in accordance to the context we have accepted to the world, right? That means I've understood that, I learned a very important lesson, right, recently that sometimes, like, how do I explain it? One must learn to walk in this world as if it's a museum sometimes. That means you see something, you don't need to touch it. You don't need you see a vision, you see a reality, you see a moment, you have an articulation, you have a calculation, whatever. You have a view. It's like sometimes not all views require conscious entrance. To me it's fascinating though. To me it's a very cool time, right? Because I constantly see layers to things, guys. And it's not like they're like, yo, man, you're choosing to see it that way. I'm like, no, it's there. We have a biological system, we have a technological system, we have a subjective linguistic ideological system. Do you know? There's systems within us, there's systems outside of us, there's systems to the stars, there's systems to that. Ultimately we're finding ourselves in some sort of concentric sphere of us, a sort of systemized manifestation. Right now the question is, how do we, while, like, do you know what it is? It's like there's this gigantic world, and I'm like, okay, this is not just for us. Do you know what I mean? Like, I do understand as a Muslim that the Holy Quran is the revelation. I treat it as revelation. I like the Holy Quran. You read with your heart. You don't read with your mind. You get called towards truth. You don't go find truth or grab truth. Do you see what I mean? Truth is something that it's like you just stay true to your nature, not to the ideology, not to the cultural programming, not to the specific behavioral language of where you are on the planet, not to what your specific inner realms in regards to how many different inner realms there are on this planet. There's so many ways to be human. There's so many ways we can be human. And the whole point of it is that right now it's not a problem. Right now, everybody was listening, like, it's not an issue. A dehumanization is not a big deal. People are like, yo, man, for Halloween is not a problem. Like these uh you know women wearing like bunny ears or like cat ears on their head, and acting like animals. It's like, okay, that's just cute. And we don't understand the darkness behind that. The human idea right now, because we're not completely unnatural, we're behaving unnatural. Do you understand? So imagine there's a process in evolution right? Like, forget the elites, forget the governments, forget those guys. Let them do whatever they want and let God handle them. Let the system admin handle them, right? Don't touch evil, okay? And let me explain that right now. This is the greater thing that's going on. First, we look at our early human beings, they were fully natural. There was no technology. Then after fire, the wheel, and then it started speeding up, right? And we find ourselves in 2026, right? In this like level of advanced reality. Okay. So I'm saying that, check this out, guys. Stage one, natural self in natural world. Stage two, natural world, natural self behaving unnaturally in a natural world. Then after that, it's a excuse me, I messed up. I'm gonna bring the notepad. We got this. Okay, guys, to continue, I had to reconnect. I'm gonna share the screen again. I was talking about these stages, right? Four stages to the dehumanization of the human species. Phase, let's say phases to the dehumanization of the human species. Phase one, natural self, a natural world. So phase one, natural self in natural world. Okay, the viewers can see this, right? Okay. So phase one is natural self and natural world. Phase two is natural self behaving unnaturally natural self behaving unnaturally in a natural world. Okay, in natural world, let's keep it simple. Phase three is unnatural self behaving unnaturally in and on guys, I think this can even be deeper than like it could have way more phases actually. So phase one, natural self and natural world, that's obvious. Natural self behaving unnaturally in natural world, yep. Suddenly we started like noticing the system, like that's an unnatural behavior. you know we had memory, we had shared meaning. These are all unnatural behaviors, led to unnatural behaviors in a natural world. Then this became up to this point, and it's going to go even further, the biological. But then this is where I'm saying that dehumanization is not a problem of 2026, but if 2026 is not careful, like 2026 can solve this problem on or not let this problem amplify for the future generations. you know Now let's go further. Okay. um okay. Okay, let me just see how, let me see what I can do with this phase four. So I could see it, yeah, an unnatural self, so people become robots or cyborgs, or I don't know, they're just living unnaturally, right? So an unnatural self behaving unnatural in an unnatural world. So technically I think I'm mispositioning the phases here. So natural self in a natural world, natural self behaving unnaturally, excuse me, in an unnatural world, because it has its unnatural behavior is in an unnatural world. So if you do something unnatural, you're seeing, you're in a behind your eyes, you're in a world that's unnatural, right? So if somebody does something evil, behind their eyes they're seeing evil, or there's something, they're seeing something. Do you know what I mean? It's not empty, right? So I guess it's natural self behaving unnaturally in an unnatural world. Okay. In This is going to get next level. In a natural world, there we go, I completed it. In a natural world, there we go, guys. It's not probably not going to be enough. Yeah. Okay. Unnatural self. So we've become fully unnatural. We're behaving unnatural. In an unnatural world, guess what? In a natural world, it's always going to be in a natural world, because the natural world is bigger than our unnatural humanized human created world. Okay, our humanization, we treat it as normal. We're like, yeah, man, we're human beings. But compared to what we see happening in nature, and how much more advanced our species is, and how much further we notice, right? So that's contrast to everything else in nature, unnatural, yo. And we're like prefrontal cortex. I was like, it's not just that, there's so many different behaviors that are, like, it to us, we think it's natural, but technically the word human means that silent, unconscious movement of nature was like natural, right? And when we noticed how we were moving in nature, and we noticed we could move differently, and we noticed we can compile different awareness to different views of our moment, right? So I'm saying, like, eventually, and especially when language came about and everything else afterwards, there who was it? Marshall McLuhan was like against the newspaper, I think. Plato was against the written form. He's like, people are gonna stop forgetting, man. Do you know? So I'm saying there's this sort of movement towards the more and more unnatural, but it's always in a natural world. Phase four is unnatural self behaving unnaturally in an unnatural world. This part's kind of like scary. An unnatural self. So we were like this natural being, let's say, okay, and then more and more as history went forth, we're like, yo, man, okay, behaviors unnatural, things are being, and more human civilization became based on the meaning humans gave to nature rather than what nature was before needing meaning, right? So an unnatural self behaving unnaturally in an unnatural world, that means imagine your body's not biological anymore. And let's assume consciousness is still natural. Let's say the fact that consciousness can transcend the biological form is a natural thing. But because we're so, like, because we don't understand it, it doesn't mean it's unnatural. Do you know what I mean? So, so the final phase four is an unnatural self. That means you're no longer a biological being behaving unnaturally. You no longer even identify as human anymore. Do you know? Like right now, for us, our natural is human, right? So unnatural. I guess that's like there's different ways you can look at anything, really. So phase four, unnatural self behaving unnaturally. That means it was like okay. Let's assume, okay, let's consider, there needs to be a consideration here. Let's consider that nature equals biological human organism. Like we can like we can agree to that, right? Everybody can agree where. So let's consider nature here equals a biological human organism. So the phase four, your body's no longer, let's say, like everything's, like people have been like this would be kind of like from the futuristic angle of like the cyborg era, right, where human beings start replacing their biological body parts with like technology. So what was like natural, like one system of natural technology, engaging with unnatural technology that is, I guess, advanced in its own way. I don't know. Like for me, I like in my lifetime, um, I don't know how to say it, but like the chip, I feel like nothing should enter the brain, but I don't know really. I mean, but I feel like we should, like, we're smart enough as beings to find a way where you don't need to put a chip in your head to access like virtual reality or next level reality. You just go and stand somewhere, and because our brain works with waves, somehow they create these like things that are like phone booths, not really, like bigger, right? You go and stand there, then these, like, let's say, I don't know, like these three giant, I don't know how to envision this design, right? But pretty much I'm saying you don't need to do anything. You go, let's say you go sit on this couch, and above you there's like this some antenna or something, right? And you're just, I mean, like, no, I shouldn't say this antenna. Like that's not safe for people to do. Like some people are gonna misunderstand this. But I'm saying, like, to put in an antenna, how do I explain? If your body's not natural and human, if your behavior is no longer human because you haven't been caring for, like, the heart of humanity, you've kind of been ignoring, like, caring for, like, okay, this is something that took a long time to get here, like we got to care for what happens to it. You know, people cannot care for themselves. I don't care, you have free will, but civilization, the species, these are higher values. These are the very important values for the species, and it's their values beyond our lifetime. That means wonder about what values you're living beyond your that are beyond your lifetime. What values you're living for that are beyond your lifetime. So at the end, you see, we had in phase 4, unnatural self. So your body's not natural anymore. Like you're a robot. Your behaviors, let's say, robotic. You know, and then the world. If your self is a robot, well, guess what? What are you doing in a natural world? So your world is unnatural, right? So it's like a simulated self behaving in a simulated way in a simulated world. Excuse me, I need to add something here. In a natural world. Do you understand? The human experience of life, more than it is, more than it is specific, more than it is, how do I say this? It's a specific view I don't know how to say it, guys. There's like there's like this original force or original life of being of an original being, and we as humans okay, there's like this original force. Okay, we are in this. Okay, how do I say this? My God. Imagine there's a room. In that room, how do I say it? It's not. I can't use the word room. In this world, okay, whatever I'll say. In this world, in the same moment that there are simulated beings living self simulated lives inside collectively self simulated systems. In this world, in the same moment that there are simulated beings living in living, oh my god, living self-simulated lives inside collective self-simulated systems, there is the presence of the original being and the original life. So, what I'm saying here, guys, is that all souls have access to being able to notice that we are within a moment where we're living simulated. We're trying to organize collectively this self simulating, or even have to go beyond our self simulated meaning to truly organize in advanced ways as human beings, right? But I'm saying, like in the in like just like in the middle of us living our simulated lives in this simulated place, there is an original being living, present in, how do I say it, that there's an original life of an original being that was here before the simulated reality existed. Somebody in the chat section said here and now. Guys, I understand, but I don't like, that's the wrong, don't use those words. Let me tell you why. Okay? Because the here and now ignores the past and the future. A collective being does not ignore any dimension of its being. Do you understand? That means there is no power in excuse me, not unify, in making everything the same. If I clone every human being in the same way, like if we all become clones, there's what's the stupid, like that's what's the point of that, right? Like the value of reality is where different actions, different decisions, different motivations, different results, different efforts, like that's the point, right? But now I'm saying what's the most advanced effort, and I'm saying perhaps in the middle of us trying to figure out the answer to that question of what's the most advanced way that we as beings can live in this world, in the middle of me being like, yo, man, free biological human being right now, am I one who, like, in this moment I have this view and then tomorrow I'm gonna have a different view, and just reality is just this endless, how do I say it, it's like every day I wake up there's a wave of information hits me. Some parts of me let go of the information from before and they get taken by the wave, and some new parts are added, pretty much, right? That means little do we know, like, a person could be like, yo, man, I like chocolate, right? And, and then somebody brings them chocolate, and then they're like, yo, man, I don't want it. And they're like, you said you like chocolate. And the person's like, no, in this moment, I'm going where my attention is. Do you see? There's various ways that life can activate, there's different ways people can live. Right now on this planet, you know what's fascinating? There's 8 billion human beings on this earth. But how many of them are behaving like a human? How many of them care for the human? How many of them wonder about what does it mean that we're all existing here? Do you know what does it mean? Like we have to ask the questions that nobody has asked. We have to wonder about what we don't see. We have to wonder about the unknown, but we shouldn't wonder about it like, yo, dude, like there's treasure behind, like, I don't know, other dimensions. I'm like, get out of here. Forget treasure, go to the source. The source is not an idea. That means anything conceptual. That means truth is beyond conceptual containment and contextual containment. In Islam, in Christianity and all other traditions, that God has a position, a formed position, right? That means like, so like 100% Christians have gone to Hindus and being like, yo, you know it's the Holy Spirit within all your gods, right? That had to happen at some point. I'm saying ultimately what it is that, ladies and gentlemen, we're all different beings, and we may at some point think we have the same answer, but religion doesn't say, yo, take this book and go make everybody believe it in the way you see it. Like, who know? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Right? The point of it is not to uh, 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 give someone information that changes, not, excuse me, not change, to give someone information that they cannot process. Right? That's kind of like, I don't know how to say it really. But what we care about, we don't like. How far can we truly wonder about the nature of reality? And what happens when we realize we're not just biological organisms that are having a subjective, we're not just biological existential beings that are having a subjective experience of their being, you know? That subjective experience, or how there's any movement at all, or how this moment does not belong to anyone. That's the profound truth. At some point you're like, wait a minute, I could have been named anything. I could right now have different views on who I am. I could have different views on what sort of futures are accessible. Can people hear me? All right. So, okay, there are simulated beings living self simulated lives inside collective self simulated systems. There's the presence of the original being and the original life and the original world. So, guys, do you know what it means? That means if there is an original being, if there is an original moment, and if there's an original being, then if there's an original life, an original world, or excuse me, that's what I wanted to say actually, that that if there's an original reality, an original way that everything's happening, and we're in the simulated sector of manifestation, you know, I think the advantage is our awareness to the fact that we're simulated. I think that is one of the greatest things, right? But at some point, you have to wonder about what administers the system. What gives value to what we see, right? My whole thing is, I'm like, yo, guys, I just realized everybody is more comfortable in accepting their impression of someone as that person, right? Rather than realizing the human being is not an idea. It's, you can't, even though for in right now in modern culture they're like, yeah, man, this is me, this is my backstory, this is my life if it was a log line of a script or a film, you know what I mean? Like right now we're living in a time where we give answers, but doesn't mean the answer satisfies the true depth of the moment. Okay, that means that in the same moment that a human being can be seen as a biological being, and as an objective being and a subjective being, you can simultaneously see being a state of consciousness. And you're going to be like, whoa, what do you mean state of consciousness? And I mean legit. Right now, my whole moment of being is my state of consciousness. So everything in my awareness is within my whole state of consciousness. So I can choose to even define the whole moment by the fact that it's being a whole moment. And at some point, you search for truth, but you're going to realize as long as there is truth that is you, then there is, I don't know how to explain it. Pretty much in my life, like if somebody's like, all right, man, what body doing, what is your mind doing, what is your soul doing, I'll go straight to the soul. What what my soul is doing is right now on this planet, they're like, are you trying to get to heaven, like what are you trying to do? And this is what I'll tell the viewers, okay? What my soul is right now doing is recent. It's been a while now where I've noticed this. It's been doing this. Okay, this is how, like, my when I wake up, this is how my intelligence as a being happens. Okay, where I've kind of stopped judging things. That means I stopped seeing things as good or bad or right or wrong or good or evil. It's not that I can't see that. I've just stopped looping in that. And you might not believe it. Every moment I ask myself, what is original about me? And it's hilarious because when I go through that reality checklist, what's original about me is how this unknown life force decides. That means the real me, like if you really want to know what my soul, who my soul is, it's not the words, it's that which is deciding the sequence, the words you're hearing. And when I say my soul, I'm not talking about other dimensions beyond the whale, or oh my god, in another dimension my higher self is a badass. Like, you know what I mean? Or excuse me, I shouldn't use that language. My higher self is like such a higher self. You know what I mean? It's like, no, that's not the point. I'm saying that it's like, for me, I've reached that state of consciousness where I'm like, okay, if I am created by an original being, this, or how God creates through the theological lens is that God commands existence into being. I'm saying more fascinating. That means if they're like, what's Mr. Within's strategy to how they're going to like, they're attempting an epistemic entropy on the biological humans universe experience, right? Like right now, biology is not under attack. Okay. It's just human beings are living in a place that it's hard for biological beings to live. Like, you know, if children were raised like Tarzan up to like, I don't know, like age 10, like, and then they came into civilization, they would be such healthy human beings. Do you know what I mean? The whole point of it is your environment to you as your values. That means if you look at a moment and you're like, I care about this, I don't care about this, I like that, I dislike that. All of this is self-simulated meaning generation. I am someone who, it's not that I am oblivious that there's so many different ways reality is happening right now. I'm not ignorant of that. I know how vast this civilizational system is. I know that just like the ocean systems, that even before I, guys, let me be honest. This is my experience as a soul, like I'm talking to you right now. Um, there's an honor missing. When I look at modern civilization, I see humans and I'm like, all right, that human wants a Bugatti. That human wants to succeed in their career. That human being wants to experience like family life. That human being wants to climb a mountain. That human being wants to go become a pilot. That being wants to go rule the world. That human, like I see that it's like 8.1 billion humans and each of them has ambition. What is ambition? That means you've included a response to the context of your world. So 8 billion human beings, 8 billion different viewpoints, views of Earth. So right now, behind our eyes, there's 8.1 current live, living in history, 8.1 billion versions of the world right now. That means if there's four people in, or somebody said there's four people in a room, they're in a room with four people, or what? They're in a room as four people. They're in a room with four people, right? What does that mean? That means in front of their eyes, they're all maybe looking at the same TV screen, but behind their eyes, each of them has a different view on reality. And this is what civilization, this was something that happened in India and they got rid of it somehow. Or I shouldn't say they got rid of it, they advanced beyond it. Do you know? That means there is this whole time people are like, yo, man, that person's wrong. That person's right. That person's good, man. That person's bad, yo. And all of this has been going on, but we don't understand that. Forget the good and bad. Look at it from as a designer. Okay. And when you look at it as a designer, there's just 8 billion different inner earths behind our eyes. Like the inner earth doesn't mean it has to be an inside the earth. Like there's an inner earth that means legit behind your eyes. So so I don't know. I'm going with this is I'm saying that my whole fascination is what's the original life. That means I'm at that point in my lifetime where I'm like, all right, I acknowledge that there's a higher power. I awareness to reality. I acknowledge that, you know, I understand that there's chaotic and ordered dimensions, but there's both of them at the same time. You know, I understand that there's an unknown witnessing force that's like legit, like what I consider the whole moment to be. And then there's all the known content within that moment. There is one context of a present unknown presence of instantaneous awareness, and then there's the concepts within that context. Okay, this is very important to understand, guys. Right? All of reality is compartmentalized. It's like when you look at, like, let's say somebody's like, what is that? That's a tree. And like imagine a parent is teaching a child and they're like, all right, son, what is that? And the child's like, it's a tree. The parent shouldn't stop there. The parent shouldn't be like, good job, son. The parent should be like, all right, son, that's the concept. Now, what's the concept? Context. Where is that tree? And the child's going to be like, oh, yeah, the context is it's in a park. And then the father's going to be like, good job. Now, what's the deeper context? All right, it's a park in this country. Okay, this is what a country is. Do you see what I mean? You take one moment of comprehension and then you kind of like, expand through that. But on some level, learning really is you just have to wonder, like the world is unknown and everybody's trying to figure it out. And civilizations figured out it this far. And we cannot ignore how many ways we can still figure it out and how much there is to know. So in no way do not feel in no way feel that right now the human way we're experiencing ourselves as humans in 2026 is like the most advanced or the final version. We're like, no way is this ultra instinct, no way it isn't. Right now, right now humans are just like Iron Manning it out. Okay, so we're this like biological organism. Okay, we're this unknown consciousness inside a biological Iron Man suit. Imagine I'm using Iron Man suit in the cultural sense. So there's a biological suit we're wearing. A biological Iron Man suit, imagine. And then we're wearing an ideological Iron Man suit. Like, check out all the suits we're wearing. It's not just what we see in the mirror that we're wearing. People are suited up in so many ways. Do you know? Like I had a conversation with someone once, and I'm like, at the end, I'm like, yo, man, what am I doing? This person's already dressed in a certain ideology, already positioned in a sort of their reality is being generated based on a sort of specification of context. Okay, but I'm telling you, the more smarter people on this planet, this is my view. The smarter you are on this in this world on this planet, okay, the smarter you are on Earth, the more you realize it's not Earth. It's the presence of an intelligent system. There's intelligence moving in space, Like it's pretty sophisticated, I think. Out of nowhere in cosmic inflation in regards to Big Bang Theory. What is it? Like in nanoseconds, or I don't know, in like seconds, unfathomable, like, you know, in like the seconds of seconds, do you know what I mean? Right? Every suddenly cosmos cooled down and all this manifestation came into existence. Do you know what I mean? The Big Bang Theory, even if people are like, all right, man, we got to go with this, right? I'll be like, yo, it doesn't explain all the instant in a couple of seconds. Do you understand? Like, there's no way Like that's explainable. You know, they're like, okay, we can explain like it happened in a couple seconds. The whole thing cooled down, and manifestation was like, well, it doesn't explain how manifestation is so designed. It doesn't explain how we can notice it. We're noticing it. That's the profoundness of it, really. When I say listen to your heart, I mean that if you treat yourself like an antenna, these are signals you receive. Right now, you might think I'm talking, but from another perspective, you can see me as this just awareness in the moment, okay? And I am somehow aligned to a point where I can notice what I consider to be my mind. And I'm like, yo, guys, I'm talking about what I'm, envisioning in my mind. What I mean by that when I tell you inner realms, okay, is that as an antenna, I receive the moment. It just happens. It's like moving. Like, it's like people are like, yo, man, how do you imagine? It's like, yo, it's a treadmill, yo. It's moving. It's like, have you ever been in those sushi restaurants where the sushi is moving already? Do you know what I mean? And if you know you are selecting, consciousness is mind is an ability to take an individual view, or excuse me, not view, an individual form, right, and put it in a rhythm. I don't know how to explain it. Whereas intelligence being the sophistication of movement. If people are like, what's the most basic intelligence? Probably vibration, right? Something was moving. Like, I think it's like, yo, man, what's more advanced than stillness? It's like any movement. Okay, what's more advanced than any movement? Any movement and then back to the same movement. It's like, what's really advanced for a child to do? Take a first step, nice, but then the child can't take the second step, so he steps back. That's like the next level advance. You know what I mean? I'm not a parent yet, but I can, like, I've seen, like, people who've spoken about this in my family. So anyways, where we are as a species is about the development of everyone, and the development of everyone should be like if you should be anything in this world, like, just think about it. Which is more preferable? Advanced beings in an advanced world, in an advanced civilization, with an advanced awareness. Like, we got to decide right now as human beings, do we want to be our most advanced self to see what our most advanced self is, or do we want to be the idea of us that loops endlessly? Because the system requires a character in its story to listen to your heart, which means don't fear the unknown, and realize when you fear you become desperate. When you're desperate, you react, you're unconsciously deciding. I want to see like an advanced civilization. I want to see the most advanced version of every person. I don't want to see, like, I've seen so many different ways that psychology can be simulated. The only thing we're waiting for is what is the most advanced. And eventually, we see right now, how do I say it? Human competence has to come into the cultural value system in an incredibly, like, it has to become like, what I'm trying to do is that I know that the future, like, they're not at stage 4, we're at phase 2 right now in 2026. You see this? We're in phase 2. We're natural self behaving unnaturally in an unnatural world, in an unnatural world of that unnatural self, on that of excuse me, in an unnatural world of that unnatural behavior's self. Okay, of that unnatural behavior. That unnatural behavior is happening somewhere, so it's happening in an unnatural world. But the unnatural behavior and the unnatural world are happening in a natural world, and we're still a natural self. In the future, their danger is the unnatural self. So how do we stop the future generations from becoming robots, yo? You know? And I still don't know, like, people don't subscribe. Like, what's more interesting to talk about than that? How to stop the future generations from becoming robots? Like, today, like, there's, like, my parents, I want to go and get a, like, parents are like, no daughter of mine, no son of mine is going to get a tattoo. Do you know what I mean? In the future, it's gonna, like, a child's gonna come home and be like, parents, I want to be a robot. One of the kids in school has become a robot. I want to be a robot too. And imagine the parents being, no daughter of mine's gonna be a robot. You know what I mean? No son of mine's gonna be a machine. You know, right? So I don't want that horror to reach mankind. People don't understand the value of science fiction. They don't understand the value of looking at reality in different ways. The value of sometimes seeing an unnecessary world is to realize we don't need to go there collectively. Thank you for listening, and listen to your heart, which means there's a part of you. Think of, like, if there's this idea in psychology called inner child, okay? And people are going to be so childish for me to imagine I have an inner child, but technically, the way they were introduced to you is childish. The inner child means you, when you go back through your memory trail, when you go back through your memories, your earliest memories are still accessible. They're in your subconscious. That means the younger versions of you are still young behind. Okay, but in front of your eyes the body ages. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, our minds have an ability to be endlessly young if the person can close their eyes and remember their youth. But I'm saying what inner child means is that we started off as being simpler beings, and then we thought the world was simple, then we realized no, the world is complex. Okay, and now we're in such a simple is playful and silly is like inner child connect between souls, right? Do you see what I'm saying? Right? And for me, we have to care for humanity. If we want to care for humanity, we have to loop those human values. We have to make everybody earth realize, yo, prioritize human. If you're a religionist, prioritize God's creation, that all creation bowed except Shaitan, except the one moderator. All manifestation bowed to what God had created. We are worthy of original awareness and greatness as a species, but we must realize that right now we're playing a role. This is the era in history. This is what I'm capable of. There's going to come different human beings. And even if the idea of Mr. Within is forgotten, right? It's going to resurface. There's going to be a human being being like, guys, what about the future? What about how advanced we can all be? Well, what about this whole time we could have wondered, we could have experienced, or we could have wondered about, like, yo, man, why am I looking down on myself? Why am I looking up myself? Like, what's this whole. And truth is finally restored through the clarity of a greater understanding that the ultimate realization on earth, and this is why I say listen to your heart, because this, and the point of me talking about the inner child is that your younger self was a simpler self, that your most youngest self, whether it's a conscious memory for some people, for me it's a conscious memory, but for some people it's a subconscious memory. Before you learned language, you were completely okay with just being a being. It's just that when the mind can envision the interacting with the outer realms, right? That's when expectations and possibilities and all of this arise. Our attention is fascinating because of what's found in it, because not just because of why it's here, because of where it can go to, and the most advanced position that advancement attention can go, the most advanced position that attention towards in during my lifetime right now, I've reached that point as a being where I'm starting to care for the unconditional. That means I've experienced the conditional. I've experienced being a specific person, having specific expectations. Now I'm starting to understand Mother Teresa more. Now I'm starting to understand what it means to be unconditional. because there's endless conditions, and these conditions either loop if you choose what it wants to be, or they don't loop, but there's still endless conditions. That means perhaps during this lifetime, instead of paying attention to the simulated reality, we pay attention to the original moment. If the simulated reality is being organized by the mind, when I say heart, I mean the presence of being prior to, like, what Luke Skywalker had to understand, what Yoda understood in Star Wars, what that the Force was already there. The Force was another way of saying the concept of destiny. Do you understand? Right? It's just the person accessed the Force, forcing things from only their self simulated reality. They understood that their presence belonged to the whole moment, but the whole moment was not just an idea. So listen to your heart, because sometimes the ideas of ourselves make us forget what truly matters: the presence of natural life. Okay? Being able to be a natural being. Like I'm one of those human beings where I think, like, the moment I do certain things in civilization, like fulfill certain roles, or you know do whatever I'm here for as a being, like, exist in whatever way the system admin has intended for me to exist here, right? But at the end of my life, I'm going to go towards nature. Do you know why? Because there is complexity everywhere, and there's simplicity everywhere, and it's about the awareness to how the moment is. For me, you can even treat this reality as a reality. This You could treat this world as a reality machine. That means what you input, you get the output. If you think reality has, like, you know, like, if you imagine, like, truth to be like a, I don't know, like an ice cream cone or something, you know what I mean? Like, that's all I'm trying to say is, when you realize the world is bigger than you understand it, you become a wise person. And when you realize you can understand beyond what you've understood, you become a smart person. To be smart means that there's more to see. Anyways, folks, thank you for listening. And yeah, go towards your heart. We're all learning. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, the most advanced.